Kevin Cullinane, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan.
The airport is how old at this point?
It's celebrating its 56th year this year of operations, and hard to believe that the new terminal at Cork Airport opened in 2006, so that's been operational now for 11 years, so it's, I suppose, no longer the new terminal.
We'll still always call it the new terminal, no matter, until you build another one, it'll be the new terminal. And what's nice is that obviously it wasn't a great time to open a new terminal. I mean, the joke was you could play hurling in the arrivals hall. You couldn't get a game in now, could you?
No, and I suppose it's one of the few examples from the Celtic Tiger where we tried to future-proof future investment in infrastructure in this country. The new facility was built to cater for up to 4 million passengers going forward. This year we'll entertain just over 2.3 million. At the height of the boom, we had 3.2 million people using the facility. Obviously, we had 500,000 people flying on multiple daily flights between Cork and Dublin at the time. But what we have is obviously a piece of infrastructure that will last, hopefully, for the next 50 years and see us through well into the future.
It's great to see growth, and the big growth really is the start of transatlantic, which was a big target for Cork Airport for so long. What was it like to see Norwegian land for the first time a couple of months ago?
I think a lot of people felt it would never happen. I had the pleasure of having some responsibility for the 50th anniversary coffee table book, which the O'Driscoll brothers wrote. And you know, history tells us many lessons, and you looked about all of the challenges that people in Cork faced, insurmountable odds really to get an airport in Cork way back in the 60s. But thankfully people like Sean Lemass had the foresight to see it through. And the last really element to make it a true international airport was to get that Achilles heel sorted and get the first direct transatlantic. So I think this year on the 1st of July, to finally see a Norwegian aircraft take off and have the pleasure of being the sole Cork Airport representative on that inaugural flight, I honestly can say that the hairs on the back of my head rose as we taxied onto the runway, and I could see all of the aviation enthusiasts outside the fence. People were camping out, and you really felt, yeah, the hand of history is on your shoulder here. We've finally done it. And thankfully it's been an amazing success to date.
And that's the other side of it. Opening new routes is always difficult because you have a great theory that people will love to go to X out of Cork, and then the flights are launched and all of a sudden load factors aren't what they should be, airlines get a wobble and they leave. And we've seen that happen with some airlines in the past, but it appears that the transatlantic idea out of Cork is a good one and people are using it.
Well, we knew there was pent-up demand there. Obviously, we're a very data-driven company, so we know exactly how many people are either driving to Shannon, using transatlantic services out of Shannon, or indeed we obviously have full analysis from our sister airport in Dublin Airport, and we can see the connectivity that people were making to the States via Heathrow or via Amsterdam. So we knew there was pent-up demand there. The biggest obstacle we then faced was obviously getting the foreign carrier permit for Norwegian from the US authorities.
Which you eventually got. Bit of a fight.
Bit of a fight, but eventually, you know, thanks to people like the Taoiseach lobbying on St. Patrick's Day when he was over meeting President Obama over a year ago, we got it, and that just really unlocked the final door really to make it happen. And since then, you know, Norwegian have been available and selling every available seat since July through into this month. So the challenge now is to sustain that through the winter months and into summer of 2018, and then build on that and give them the confidence to launch even further services to other destinations.
Fingers crossed, New York on the list as well. But it's been good, like Swiss only announcing recently they were doubling the amount of seats on that route to Zurich, which is great. Aer Lingus, Ryanair, the Constance at the airport, and a lot of charters coming back in as well. The future is pretty bright. I mean, you're saying it's what, 2.3 now. What's the target within the next couple of years?
We're literally just about to put the covers on our next 4-year strategy. And the ambition of that is to see us back to 2.8 million passengers, which is the number of international passengers we would have had at the height of the boom. So that's an ambitious target, but you know, with that growth target foremost in our minds, one of the challenges we now face is to diversify out of our dependence on the UK market. We're all aware of the uncertainty of Brexit, but over a third of our passengers travel on London routes every year, and another fifth travel to UK provincial destinations. So it's good to see airlines like Swiss and like Iberia, Volaté come in, WOW and Norwegian, to lessen the dependency on the Irish airlines, but also to lessen the dependency on the UK market not just alone for tourism, but again, a lot of Irish companies are now looking to expand their exports beyond the UK into continental Europe.
I always love speaking to people who work in airports, because always there's a big child never too far away from the surface, because you're working in a pretty cool location, a pretty cool job. How do you suppress it? How do you kind of stop being awe-inspired by what goes on, and the hairs, as you said, rising at the back of your neck as the planes taxi out?
Of course, the downside to that is when you come back from holiday every year, you're straight into work.
Back into work, yeah.
So the reality of it is never far away. And look, I worked in the beer industry before this, which I consider a very fast-moving consumer goods industry, but aviation is even faster, because if a seat isn't sold on a plane today to London, it's gone. You can't replace it, you can't put it on a shelf. So it's very dynamic, it's very fast-moving. It mirrors what's happening in the economy, what's happening globally. So, you know, threats to Brexit, threats to what Trump is doing in the US, the threat, unfortunately, of terrorism across the continent, all of these have an impact on our travel plans and our confidence, and we see that every day. So it's a very dynamic industry. You have to be, I suppose, abreast of what's happening politically and geopolitically, and that's what makes it so interesting. And there is a bug, undoubtedly, everyone gets when they start working in aviation. You don't want to leave the industry once you've joined it.
Okay, well, long may you stay in it, and long may Cork Airport be successful. Kevin Cullinane, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan.